Let us talk about constitutional democracy. This is a very important topic in civic education. It appears in your exams every year. By the end of this lesson, you will understand what constitutional democracy means, the features of democracy, the types of democracy, the principles of democracy, and how to answer exam questions. Pay attention, take notes. Let us go. First, what is constitutional democracy? Constitutional democracy is a system of government in which the powers of the government are limited by a constitution. The constitution is the supreme law of the land. Everyone, including the leaders, must obey the constitution. In a constitutional democracy, the people are the source of power. They elect their leaders. The leaders govern according to the rules set out in the Constitution. If leaders break the rules, they can be removed. The word democracy comes from Greek words. Demos means people. Kratos means power or rule. So, democracy means rule by the people. In a democracy, the people have the final say. They choose their leaders. They hold their leaders accountable. They can change their leaders if they are not satisfied, but democracy without a constitution can lead to problems. The majority might oppress the minority. The leaders might become dictators. This is why constitutional democracy is important. The Constitution protects the rights of everyone, including minorities. Now, let me explain the key features of constitutional democracy. These are the things that make a democracy different from other systems of government. The first feature is popular sovereignty. This means that the people are the source of all political power. The government gets its authority from the consent of the governed. Elections are held regularly. The people choose who will represent them. If the people are not happy, they can vote the leaders out. The second feature is majority rule with minority rights. In a democracy, decisions are made by majority vote. The side with more than half the votes wins, but the majority cannot do whatever it wants. The rights of the minority must be protected. The Constitution guarantees certain rights that cannot be taken away by a majority vote. For example, freedom of speech applies to everyone, even to people who disagree with the majority. The third feature is the rule of law. This means that no one is above the law. Everyone, including the president, must obey the law. The law applies equally to all citizens. There is no special treatment for the rich or powerful. If someone breaks the law, they will be punished, no matter who they are. The fourth feature is periodic elections. Elections must be held at regular intervals. Voters must have a choice between different candidates and parties. The elections must be free and fair. There should be no cheating, no intimidation, and no violence. The results of the elections must be respected by everyone. The fifth feature is separation of powers. The powers of government are divided into three branches. The legislature makes the laws. The executive carries out the laws. The judiciary interprets the laws. Each branch has its own powers. Each branch can check the powers of the other branches. This prevents any one branch from becoming too powerful. The sixth feature is an independent judiciary. The courts must be free from control by the legislature and the executive. Judges must be able to make decisions based on the law, not based on what the government wants. An independent judiciary is essential for protecting the rights of citizens. The seventh feature is political parties. In a democracy, citizens can form political parties to express their views. Parties compete for votes. The party that wins the most votes forms the government. The parties that lose become the opposition. The opposition monitors the government and holds it accountable. The eighth feature is freedom of the press. The media must be free to report on the government without fear. Citizens need accurate information to make good decisions at the ballot box. When the press is free, the government cannot hide its mistakes. Now, let me explain the types of democracy. There are two main types: direct democracy and representative democracy. Direct democracy is when all citizens vote directly on every issue. This works only in small communities. In ancient Athens, all male citizens gathered in an assembly to make decisions. But direct democracy is not practical for large countries with millions of people. It would take too much time. Most citizens do not have the time or knowledge to vote on every issue. Representative democracy is when citizens elect representatives to make decisions on their behalf. The representatives meet in a parliament or congress. They debate the issues. They pass laws. They make budgets. If the people do not like what their representatives are doing, they can vote them out at the next election. Representative democracy is the most common form of democracy in the world today. Nigeria, the United States, the United Kingdom, and most other democracies use representative democracy. Now let me explain the principles of democracy. These are the values and beliefs that democracy is built on. The first principle is political equality. Every citizen has one vote. Every vote counts the same. The vote of a poor person is worth the same as the vote of a rich person. The vote of a young person is worth the same as the vote of an old person. This is political equality. The second principle is popular consultation. Before making important decisions, the government should consult the people. This can happen through public hearings, town hall meetings, surveys, or referendums. The government should listen to what the people have to say. The third principle is accountability. Elected officials must answer to the people. They must explain their decisions. They must justify how they spend public money. If they do a bad job, the people can remove them. The fourth principle is transparency. Government business should be open to the public. Citizens have the right to know what the government is doing. Meetings should be open. Records should be available. There should be no secret deals. Transparency reduces corruption. When the government knows that people are watching, it is less likely to steal or abuse power. The fifth principle is political tolerance. In a democracy, people have different opinions. Some people support one party, others support another party. Some people agree with the government, others disagree. Democracy requires that we tolerate those who disagree with us. We do not lock them up. We do not silence them. We let them speak. Then we vote. The sixth principle is regular and free elections. Elections must happen on schedule. They cannot be postponed indefinitely. The elections must be free from intimidation and fraud. Voters must be able to vote in secret. Their choice must be protected. Now, let me explain the importance of constitutional democracy. Why is this system better than others? First, it protects individual rights. The Constitution guarantees basic freedoms. The government cannot take them away. Second, it prevents abuse of power. Separation of powers and checks and balances make it hard for one person or group to become too powerful. Third, it promotes stability. When there is a constitution, everyone knows the rules. Leaders know how long they can stay in office. Citizens know how to change their leaders. This reduces the chance of coups and revolutions. Fourth, it encourages participation. Citizens are invited to vote, to run for office, and to express their opinions. This makes people feel invested in their country. Fifth, It allows for peaceful change of power. When elections are over, the loser accepts defeat. The winner takes office. No one needs to fight or die. A common exam question asks you to define constitutional democracy and list its features. Here is a sample answer. Constitutional democracy is a system of government in which the powers of government are limited by a constitution and the people are the source of power. The features of constitutional democracy include popular sovereignty, majority rule with minority rights, rule of law, periodic elections, separation of powers, independent judiciary, political parties, and freedom of the press. Another exam question asks you to distinguish between direct democracy and representative democracy. Here is your answer. In direct democracy, all citizens vote directly on every issue. This works only in small communities. In representative democracy, citizens elect representatives to make decisions on their behalf. This is practical for large countries. Most modern democracies, including Nigeria, use representative democracy. Another exam question asks you to explain the principles of democracy. Here is your answer. The principles of democracy include political equality, where every vote counts the same, popular consultation, where the government listens to the people, accountability, where leaders answer for their actions, transparency, where government business is open to the public, political tolerance, where different opinions are respected, regular and free elections, where voters can choose their leaders without fear. Let us quickly go over what we have learned. Constitutional democracy is a system where a constitution limits government power and the people are the source of authority. The features include popular sovereignty, rule of law, separation of powers, and free elections. The two types are direct democracy and representative democracy. The principles include political equality, accountability, transparency, and political tolerance. That is what you need for your exam. Practice these points until you can say them without looking at your notes. When you are ready, move to topic 3.